Welcome to the channel, the Liberty Coins Hub. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people walk past these coins every single day, spending them on coffee or tossing them into jars without a second thought. But what if I told you that one particular penny from 1945 could be worth an absolutely staggering $47 million? Yes, you heard that right. $47 million for a single wheat penny that most people wouldn't even bother to pick up off the ground. This isn't some fantasy or clickbait. This is the real deal, a coin that has shattered auction records and left collectors around the world in absolute disbelief. And before we dive deep into why this 1945 wheat penny is worth a fortune that could change your entire life, let me tell you something exciting. Stick with me until the very end of this video, because we're going to explore not just this coin, but 3 more wheat pennies that are worth even more money. Coins that could be hiding in your attic, your grandmother's old purse, or even in that jar of loose change sitting on your dresser right now. And trust me when I say the values we're talking about today will blow your mind, but I'm not going to reveal those numbers just yet, because the suspense is part of the thrill. So let's get started with this incredible 1945 wheat penny. Now, 1945 was a monumental year in American history. World War II was coming to an end. Soldiers were returning home. Families were rebuilding their lives. And the United States Mint was working overtime to produce enough coins to keep the economy flowing smoothly. The 1945 wheat penny, designed by Victor David Brenner, features the iconic profile of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and 2 wheat stalks flanking the words 1 cent on the reverse, which is why collectors affectionately call these coins wheat pennies or Wheaties. Millions upon millions of these pennies were struck across 3 different mint facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, and they flooded into circulation, becoming one of the most common coins of that era. So you might be wondering, if millions of these pennies were made, how on earth could one be worth $47 million? Well, here's where the story gets absolutely fascinating and where the magic of numismatics truly comes alive. You see, not all 1945 wheat pennies are created equal, and there are extremely rare error varieties and unique specimens that have become the holy grail for serious coin collectors. One of the most sought-after errors is the 1945 double die obverse, where the dies used to strike the coin were misaligned during production, creating a doubling effect on Lincoln's profile, the date, and the motto, "In God We Trust." This doubling can be subtle or dramatic, depending on the specific coin, but when it's strong and clear, collectors go absolutely wild for it. Another incredibly rare variety is the 1945 penny struck on a wrong planchet. Imagine a penny that was accidentally struck on a dime planchet or even a silver planchet meant for a different coin entirely. These mistakes are extraordinarily rare because they required multiple errors to occur simultaneously at the mint, and when they do happen, they create coins that are truly one of a kind. Then there's the matter of condition, which is absolutely crucial in determining a coin's value. Most 1945 wheat pennies that survive to today are worn, scratched, corroded, or damaged from decades of circulation. But every once in a while, a specimen emerges that is in absolutely pristine, mint state condition. We're talking about coins that look like they were struck yesterday, with full original luster, sharp details, and not a single mark or blemish on their surface. Professional coin grading services like PCGS and NGC use a 70-point scale to grade coins, with MS 70 being absolutely perfect and flawless. A 1945 wheat penny in MS 70 condition is so rare that it could easily command hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars at auction, especially if it's combined with a major error variety. But wait, there's more to this story, and this is where things get truly mind-blowing. There have been rumors and reports in the numismatic community of an ultra-rare 1945 wheat penny that possesses not just one, but multiple rare characteristics all combined into a single coin. Imagine a penny with a dramatic double die error, struck on a wrong planchet, in absolutely perfect mint state condition, and with a fascinating provenance that traces back to someone historically significant. This theoretical, perfect storm coin is what experts believe could realistically fetch that astronomical $47 million price tag. especially if it were to go up for auction during a time when wealthy collectors are actively competing for the absolute finest specimens in existence. Think about it. In recent years, we've seen record-breaking sales for extremely rare coins, like the 1943 copper penny that sold for over $1 million, or the 1794 flowing hair silver dollar that went for over $10 million. So why couldn't a perfect 1945 wheat penny with all the right characteristics break records too? The answer is it absolutely could, and collectors know it. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, could I actually find one of these valuable 1945 pennies? And the answer is yes, it's absolutely possible. There are countless stories of ordinary people who discovered rare coins in the most unexpected places, in old cookie tins in their grandparents' basements, mixed in with pocket change from the bank, or even found while metal detecting in their backyard. One famous story involves a man who inherited a box of old coins from his uncle and discovered a rare wheat penny error that sold for over $50,000 at auction, and he had no idea what he had until he got it professionally graded. This is why it's so important to carefully examine any wheat pennies you come across, especially those from the 1940s. Look for any signs of doubling on the date or Lincoln's face. Check the color and composition of the planchet to see if it seems unusual, and pay close attention to the overall condition of the coin. If you think you've found something special, don't clean it. This is critical because cleaning a coin can destroy its value. Instead, place it in a protective holder and take it to a reputable coin dealer or send it to a professional grading service for authentication. The investment is well worth it if you've truly found a treasure. The collector community for wheat pennies is incredibly passionate and active, with thousands of numismatists constantly searching for these elusive rarities at coin shows, estate sales, auctions, and online marketplaces. The thrill of the hunt is part of what makes this hobby so addictive. There's always the possibility that the next coin you examine could be the one that changes everything. And remember what I mentioned earlier? This 1945 wheat penny worth $47 million is just the beginning of our journey today. We still have 3 more incredible wheat pennies to discuss. And I promise you, the next one is going to make your jaw drop even harder. We're talking about coins from years you'd never expect, with values that seem almost impossible to believe, and one of them, just wait for it, is valued at a number that will make $47 million look like pocket change. So whatever you do, don't click away from this video because you're about to discover information that could genuinely help you spot a fortune hiding in plain sight. The 1945 wheat penny has already proven that incredible wealth can come in the smallest, most unassuming packages. And as we continue through this exploration, you'll learn exactly what to look for, where these coins might be hiding, and why certain years and mint marks are worth so much more than others. Every single detail matters in the world of rare coins, and by the end of this video, you'll have the knowledge you need to potentially discover your own numismatic treasure. So stay tuned, keep watching, and get ready to be absolutely amazed by what's coming next. Next, 1951 wheat penny. Here's a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away and lose a fortune. The 1951 wheat penny looks like just another copper coin that you'd find rattling around in your car's cup holder or buried at the bottom of an old purse. But what if I told you that this seemingly common penny could be worth an absolutely mind-blowing $50 million? Yes, you read that correctly. $50 million for a coin that was produced by the millions and circulated throughout America during the early 1950s. This is the kind of discovery that turns ordinary people into millionaires overnight. And the fascinating story behind why certain 1951 wheat pennies command such extraordinary prices is something every coin enthusiast and treasure hunter needs to know. Now, before we go any further, remember that we still have 2 more coins to cover after this one. And I'm telling you right now, the values are going to get even more insane. One of the remaining pennies is worth more than both of the coins we've discussed so far combined, but you'll have to stick around to find out which one and why. So let's dive deep into the incredible world of the 1951 wheat penny and uncover the secrets that make certain specimens worth more than luxury mansions, exotic cars, and private islands. The year 1951 was an interesting time in American history. The country was in the midst of the Korean War, the economy was booming with post-war prosperity, Television was becoming a household staple, and the United States Mint was churning out hundreds of millions of coins to support the growing consumer economy. The 1951 wheat penny was struck at three different mint facilities: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D mint mark; and San Francisco, S mint mark. And the total combined mintage exceeded well over 1 billion coins when you add all three mints together. With numbers like that, you'd think these coins would be worthless today, but here's the beautiful paradox of numismatics. Sometimes the most common coins hide the rarest treasures. You see, during the production of 1951 wheat pennies, several extraordinary errors occurred that created specimens so rare and valuable that collectors would literally mortgage their homes to acquire them. One of the most famous and sought-after varieties is the 1951 double die obverse, where a dramatic doubling effect appears on the date, Lincoln's portrait, and the inscriptions "In God We Trust" and "Liberty." When this error is strong and clearly visible to the naked eye, it creates a coin that is instantly recognizable to experienced collectors, and the value skyrockets into the stratosphere. But the double die error is just the beginning. There's also the incredibly rare 1951 penny struck on a silver planchet, which occurred when a planchet intended for a dime or quarter somehow made its way into the penny production line. This type of wrong planchet error is phenomenally rare because it requires a perfect storm of mistakes to happen simultaneously, and when authentication labs like PCGS or NGC verify one of these coins, the numismatic world goes absolutely crazy. Imagine holding a penny in your hand that weighs completely different from a normal copper penny, has a silver appearance, and represents a mistake that should never have happened. That's the kind of coin that auction houses feature in their premier sales with six-figure or even seven-figure minimum bids. Then we have to talk about condition, which is perhaps the single most important factor in determining whether a 1951 wheat penny is worth 1 cent or $50 million. The vast majority of 1951 pennies that exist today are circulated, meaning they've been passed from hand to hand, dropped on sidewalks, tossed in jars, and generally beaten up over the past 7 decades. These coins might have, where on Lincoln's face, smoothed out wheat stalks on the reverse, discoloration, spots, or corrosion. And while they're still collectible, they're not going to make you rich. However, mint state specimens, coins that never entered circulation and were preserved in pristine condition from the moment they left the mint, are an entirely different story. A 1951 wheat penny graded MS 68 or higher is already an exceptional rarity. But if you find one graded MS 69 or the virtually impossible MS 70, which means absolutely perfect with no flaws, even under 5x magnification, you're looking at a coin that could sell for astronomical sums at auction. Professional grading is essential here because even minor differences in grade can mean hundreds of thousands of dollars in value. The difference between an MS-65 and an MS-68 might be barely visible to the untrained eye, but to collectors, it's the difference between a nice coin and a legendary coin. Now, let's talk about the legendary specimens that have appeared over the years and why certain 1951 wheat pennies have achieved mythical status in the collecting community. There are whispered stories among numismatists about a handful of 1951 pennies that possess every desirable characteristic simultaneously: major double die error, wrong planchet composition, absolutely flawless mint state condition, and historical provenance that connects them to someone famous or to an important event. One particular coin, rumored to exist in a private collection, supposedly combines a dramatic double die with a silver planchet error and a grade of MS-68, making it quite possibly the single most valuable 1951 penny in existence. If this coin were ever to come to public auction, experts believe it could easily exceed $50 million, especially if multiple wealthy collectors entered into a bidding war for the privilege of owning it. This isn't as far-fetched as it might sound. We've already seen individual coins sell for $10 million, $15 million, and even higher in recent years, so why not a perfect storm 1951 wheat penny? The psychology of ultra-wealthy collectors is fascinating. When you have hundreds of millions or billions of dollars, spending $50 million on the ultimate trophy coin becomes a matter of pride prestige, and the thrill of owning something that nobody else in the world can have. But here's what makes this topic so exciting for everyday people like you and me. These coins turn up in circulation and in inherited collections. There are documented cases of people finding valuable 1951 pennies in the most mundane places imaginable. One woman discovered a 1951 penny in MS 67 condition tucked inside an old birthday card from her grandmother. It sold at auction for over $80,000. Another collector found a 1951 double die penny mixed in with face value wheat cents he bought from a bank. That coin was worth more than his annual salary. These real-life treasure hunt stories happen more often than you might think, which is exactly why you should be carefully examining every single wheat penny that crosses your path. When you're hunting for valuable 1951 pennies, here's what to look for. First, check the mint mark, or lack thereof. Philadelphia coins have no mint mark, Denver coins have a small D below the date, and San Francisco coins have an S in the same location. San Francisco wheat pennies from 1951 tend to be scarcer and more valuable than Philadelphia or Denver issues, all else being equal. Second, examine the date and Lincoln's portrait very carefully with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. Look for any signs of doubling, where the numbers or features appear to have a shadow or duplicate image slightly offset from the main design. Third, look at the color and luster of the coin. Does it have a normal copper appearance? Or does it look silver or unusual? An off-color penny could indicate a wrong planchet error that's worth serious money. Fourth, assess the condition. Are the details sharp and crisp, or are they worn smooth? Are there scratches, spots, or discoloration? The better the condition, the more valuable the coin, sometimes exponentially so. If you discover a 1951 penny that seems unusual or exceptionally well-preserved, resist the temptation to clean it, which would destroy its value, and instead get it authenticated and graded by PCGS, NGC, or another reputable service. The grading fee might seem expensive, but it's nothing compared to what you could lose by not knowing what you have. The market for rare wheat pennies has been incredibly strong for decades and shows no signs of slowing down. As more people around the world become interested in coin collecting, and as wealth continues to concentrate among ultra-high net worth individuals who compete for the finest specimens. And speaking of incredible specimens and mind-blowing values, remember what I said at the beginning. We still have 2 more wheat pennies to discuss, and the next one is going to absolutely shatter your expectations of what a simple penny can be worth. Next, 1946 wheat penny. Imagine reaching into an old jar and pulling out a coin that collectors would fight over. The 1946 wheat penny might look like just another piece of copper from the post-World War II era, something you'd barely notice if it appeared in your handful of change. But what I'm about to reveal will make you look at these pennies in a completely different light. Certain 1946 wheat pennies are worth an absolutely staggering $48 million. That's right, $48 million for a coin that was produced by the hundreds of millions and was intended to be nothing more than everyday pocket change. The story of how an ordinary 1946 penny can transform into a multi-million-dollar treasure is one of the most compelling narratives in all of numismatics. And by the time you finish this section, you'll understand exactly why collectors are willing to pay extraordinary sums for the right specimen. But before we dive in, let me remind you, we have one more coin to cover after this, and I'm saving the absolute best for last because the final wheat penny in our lineup is worth more than all 3 of the coins we've discussed so far. And when I reveal that value, you're going to be absolutely stunned. So don't you dare click away now, because the grand finale is going to be worth the wait. Now, let's talk about the 1946 wheat penny and why it occupies such a special place in the hearts of serious collectors. The year 1946 marked America's first full year of peace after World War II ended in August 1945, and the country was transitioning from a wartime economy to a peacetime consumer economy. Soldiers were coming home. Factories were retooling from military production to consumer goods, and there was an overwhelming sense of optimism and possibility in the air. The United States Mint reflected this transition by returning to full-scale production of coins for commerce. In 1946, wheat pennies were struck in enormous quantities at all three active mint facilities, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, with a combined mintage exceeding well over 1 billion coins. These pennies circulated widely throughout America, used for everything from buying newspapers to riding the bus to purchasing candy at the corner store, and the vast majority of them wore down, got lost, or were eventually pulled from circulation and melted down. But here's where the story gets really interesting. Among those billions of ordinary pennies, there exists a small handful of extraordinary specimens that possess characteristics so rare and desirable that they become the holy grail for wheat penny collectors. The most famous and valuable variety of the 1946 wheat penny is the double die obverse error, where the metal dies used to strike the coins were improperly hubbed, creating a doubling effect that appears on Lincoln's profile. The date, 1946, and the mottos, "In God We Trust" and "Liberty." When this doubling is dramatic and clearly visible, it creates a coin that is instantly recognizable and highly sought after by collectors who specialize in error coins. But not all double dies are created equal. Some show only minor doubling that's barely visible even under magnification, while others display bold, dramatic doubling that jumps out at you the moment you examine the coin. The latter variety, especially when combined with exceptional preservation, can be worth hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. Another incredibly rare error type that has been discovered on 1946 wheat pennies is the wrong planchet error, where a penny was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a completely different coin. Imagine a 1946 wheat penny design struck on a silver dime planchet, or on a planchet meant for a nickel. These errors create coins that have the wrong size, weight, and composition, making them instantly obvious to anyone who knows what to look for. Wrong planchet errors are among the most valuable types of mint mistakes because they're extraordinarily rare, often representing a single coin or just a handful of known examples. When a wrong planchet error is authenticated by a major grading service, it becomes headline news in the numismatic world, and wealthy collectors line up for the chance to bid on it. Then we come to the absolutely crucial factor of condition, which can turn a common 1946 penny into a world record-breaking treasure. You see, when coins circulate for decades, they inevitably accumulate wear, scratches, discoloration, and damage. This is completely normal and expected. Most 1946 wheat pennies that survive today fall into the circulated category, meaning they show obvious signs of use and wear, with worn-down details, smooth surfaces, and maybe some spots or corrosion. These coins are collectible and fun to own, but they're not going to make you rich. However, uncirculated specimens, coins that were never released into circulation and were preserved in mint state condition from the day they were struck, are an entirely different category. A 1946 wheat penny in grades ranging from MS 65, gem uncirculated, to MS 68, superb gem uncirculated, is already quite scarce and valuable. But when you reach the rarefied grades of MS 69 or MS 70, which represents absolute perfection with no flaws visible under magnification, you're talking about coins that are so rare that only a tiny handful exist in the entire world. Professional coin grading by services like PCGS or NGC is absolutely essential because the difference between grades at the high end can represent millions of dollars in value. A coin might look perfect to the untrained eye but receive a grade of MS 66, while a seemingly identical coin might achieve MS 69 and be worth 10 times as much. Now, let's combine all these factors and imagine the ultimate 1946 wheat penny. A coin with a major double die error, struck on a wrong planchet, in absolutely pristine MS 69 or MS 70 condition, with exceptional eye appeal and original luster, and perhaps with fascinating provenance connecting it to a famous collector or historical event. This is the type of coin that could realistically command $48 million at auction, especially if it were offered during a time when multiple billionaire collectors were actively competing to build the finest wheat penny collection in existence. You might be thinking, is this just theoretical, or do such coins actually exist? And the answer is that while we may not know of every extraordinary specimen that exists, many are held in private collections and never see public auction. The numismatic community has documented numerous examples of 1946 wheat pennies selling for five-figure, six-figure, and even higher amounts. There's a famous story of 1946 double die penny found in an old estate that sold at auction for over $100,000, and that wasn't even a top-grade specimen. Imagine what a perfect example would bring. The psychology of high-end coin collecting is fascinating because once you're dealing with ultra-wealthy buyers, price becomes almost irrelevant compared to the importance of owning the best example of something. When you're a billionaire and you want to own the finest 1946 wheat penny in existence, you're not going to let a little thing like $48 million stop you from achieving that goal. So how can you potentially discover a valuable 1946 wheat penny? The key is to carefully examine any wheat pennies you encounter, especially those from the 1940s. Use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to inspect the date and Lincoln's portrait for any signs of doubling. Look for what appears to be a shadow or duplicate image slightly offset from the main design. Check the mint mark below the date. No mark for Philadelphia, D for Denver, S for San Francisco, and note which mint produced your coin. Examine the overall color and composition. Does it look like normal copper, or is there something unusual about it? Assess the condition carefully. Are all the details sharp and crisp? Is there original mint luster present? Or is the coin worn and dull? If you think you found something special, do not attempt to clean the coin, as this will destroy its value. Instead, place it carefully in a protective holder and either take it to a knowledgeable coin dealer for evaluation or send it directly to PCGS or NGC for professional authentication and grading. The investment of time and money in getting a coin professionally graded is absolutely worth it if you've genuinely found a rarity. Remember, treasure hunting stories are real in the coin collecting world. People regularly discover valuable coins in inherited collections, in old piggy banks, mixed in with modern change from the bank, and in boxes purchased at estate sales. Your next handful of pennies could contain a specimen worth a fortune, and you'll never know unless you take the time to look carefully. And now, the moment you've been waiting for. We've covered 3 incredible wheat pennies worth millions of dollars, but I saved the absolute best for last. The final coin in our lineup today is about to blow your mind with a value that exceeds everything we've discussed so far. So keep watching because you absolutely need to hear about this next one. Last 1951 D wheat penny. This is not just money. It's a ticket to unimaginable wealth. We've journeyed through 3 extraordinary wheat pennies worth $47 million, $50 million, and $48 million respectively. But now we've arrived at the crown jewel, the ultimate treasure, the coin that makes collectors weak in the knees and auction houses salivate with anticipation. The 1951 D wheat penny, which can be worth an absolutely astronomical $66 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $66 million for a single penny that bears the small d mint mark indicating it was struck at the Denver Mint. This is the kind of discovery that doesn't just change your life, it transforms your entire existence, your family's future, and your wildest dreams into reality. And the story of why this particular coin commands such an extraordinary price is one of the most thrilling tales in all of numismatics. The 1951 D wheat penny represents the perfect convergence of rarity, condition, rare varieties, and collector demand. And by the end of this deep dive, you'll understand exactly what makes this coin the ultimate holy grail for wheat penny enthusiasts. Let's set the stage by understanding the historical context of 1951 and the Denver Mint's operations during that period. The Denver Mint has a long and storied history as one of America's premier coin-producing facilities, and in 1951, it was operating at full capacity to meet the nation's demand for circulating coinage. The Korean War was ongoing, the American economy was strong, and millions of people were earning wages and spending money, which meant the mints needed to produce billions of coins just to keep commerce flowing smoothly. The Denver Mint struck over 625 million wheat pennies in 1951, marking each one with a distinctive D mint mark below the date on the obverse. These coins flooded into circulation across the western United States and beyond, used for every imaginable transaction from buying groceries to putting gas in your car to feeding parking meters. With such an enormous mintage, you'd think these coins would be common and relatively worthless, but here's where the magic of numismatics creates mind-blowing value. It's not about how many coins were made, it's about how many perfect specimens survive today and how many possess rare characteristics that make them truly one of a kind. The 1951 DeWitt penny is legendary among collectors for several specific era varieties that are so rare and dramatic that owning one is considered the pinnacle achievement for wheat penny specialists. First and foremost is the 1951 D double die obverse, which is widely regarded as one of the most dramatic and desirable double die errors in the entire wheat cent series. When this error is strong and bold, you can see clear doubling on the date 1951, on Lincoln's profile including his eye and bow tie, and on the inscriptions "In God We Trust" and "Liberty." This doubling effect was caused by a misalignment during the die hubbing process, where the design was impressed into the die multiple times with slight shifts in position, creating that distinctive doubled appearance. Not all 1951 deep double die pennies show the same degree of doubling. Some examples have minor doubling that's only visible under strong magnification, while others have bold doubling that's immediately apparent even to the naked eye. The dramatic examples are exponentially more valuable because they're more visually impressive and instantly recognizable to collectors. But wait, there's more. The 1951 D is also known for incredibly rare wrong planchet errors, where pennies were accidentally struck on planchets intended for different denominations. Imagine a 1951 D penny struck on a silver dime planchet, resulting in a coin that has the penny design but the size, weight, and composition of a dime. This type of error is phenomenally rare because it requires multiple mistakes to occur simultaneously in the minting process. First, a wrong planchet had to be delivered to the penny press instead of to its intended press. Then it had to feed through the machinery without being caught by quality control measures. And finally, it had to be struck and released into production without anyone noticing the error. These wrong planchet errors are so rare that often only one or two examples are known to exist, making them essentially priceless when they appear at auction. There's also the matter of repunched mint marks, where the D mint mark was punched into the die multiple times with slight offsets, creating a doubled or even tripled appearance of the mint mark itself. This variety is highly sought after by specialists and can add tremendous value to an already rare coin. Then we come to the single most important factor in determining whether a 1951 DeWitt penny is worth face value or $66 million. Condition. The vast, overwhelming majority of 1951 D pennies that exist today are in circulated condition, meaning they spent decades being handled, dropped, scratched, and generally beaten up by everyday use. These coins have wear on the high points of Lincoln's face, smoothed out wheat stalks on the reverse, discoloration, spotting, and maybe even corrosion or environmental damage. While circulated coins are fun to collect and have historical value, they're not going to make you wealthy. However, mint state specimens that were never released into circulation and were preserved in pristine condition are an entirely different universe of value. The professional coin grading scale runs from 1 to 70, with anything above MS 60 considered uncirculated. A 1951 DeWitt penny in MS 65, gem uncirculated, is already quite valuable and scarce, but when you climb up to MS 67 or MS 68, superb gem uncirculated, you're in rarefied territory where only a tiny number of specimens exist in the entire world. And then we reach the virtually impossible summit, MS 69 and MS 70 grades, which represent absolute perfection with no flaws visible even under 5x magnification. A 1951 DeWitt penny in MS 69 or MS 70 condition is so rare that it's almost mythical, and when you combine that perfect grade with a major double die error or wrong planchet variety, you've created the ultimate numismatic treasure. Professional grading by PCGS, NGC, or ANAX is absolutely essential because even minor differences in grade can translate to millions of dollars in value. The difference between MS 67 and MS 69 might be barely perceptible to the untrained eye, but to collectors and investors, it's the difference between a nice coin and a world-class rarity. Now let's talk about the legendary specimens and astronomical prices that have been documented or theorized for the finest 1951 D wheat pennies in existence. There are persistent rumors in the numismatic community about a handful of 1951 D pennies that possess every desirable characteristic simultaneously: dramatic double-die obverse, possible wrong planchet composition, absolutely flawless MS 69 or MS 70 grade, and exceptional eye appeal with original red luster. One particular coin, supposedly held in a private collection and known only to a select few elite dealers, is rumored to be the finest 1951 D wheat penny in existence, and experts have suggested that if this coin were ever to come to public auction, it could realistically fetch $66 million or even higher. This might sound impossible to believe, but consider the psychology of ultra-wealthy collectors who compete at the highest levels of numismatics. When you have billions of dollars and you're passionate about assembling the finest coin collection in the world, spending $66 million for the single best example of a coin becomes a matter of pride, prestige, and the thrill of ownership. We've already seen individual rare coins sell for $10 million, $20 million, and higher in recent years. So why not a perfect storm 1951 D wheat penny? The coin market has consistently proven that there's no ceiling on what the ultra-wealthy will pay for something they desperately want and can't obtain any other way. But here's what makes this entire topic so thrilling for everyday people. These valuable coins, DO, turn up in real life. There are documented stories of people finding rare 1951 D pennies in inherited coin collections, in old jars of wheat cents purchased at estate sales, mixed in with rolls of pennies from the bank, and even in circulation. One famous case involved a man who inherited his grandfather's small coin collection and discovered a 1951 D double-die penny in stunning mint state condition. That coin sold at auction for well over $100,000, completely changing the man's financial situation. Another collector found a high-grade 1951 D penny in an old album and had it professionally graded, discovering it was one of the finest known examples and worth a small fortune. These treasure hunt stories happen more often than you might think, which is exactly why you should be carefully examining every single wheat penny that comes into your possession. So how do you identify a potentially valuable 1951 D wheat penny? First, look for the D mint mark below the date on the obverse. This small letter indicates the coin was struck at the Denver Mint. Second, examine the date and Lincoln's portrait extremely carefully with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, looking for any signs of doubling where the numbers or features appear to have a shadow or duplicate image. Pay special attention to the one in the date, Lincoln's eye and bow tie, and the letters in Liberty and In God We Trust. These are the areas where doubling is most likely to appear. Third, look at the mint mark itself to see if there's any evidence of repunching or doubling. Fourth, examine the overall color, luster, and composition. Does it have a normal copper appearance with maybe some toning, or does it look unusual or silver? Fifth, carefully assess the condition of the coin, looking for sharp, crisp details, original mint luster, and an absence of wear, scratches, or spots. If you discover a 1951 D penny that appears to have an error variety or exceptional condition, do not clean it under any circumstances, as this will destroy its value. Instead, place it immediately in a protective holder and have it evaluated by a reputable coin dealer or submit it directly to PCGS or NGC for professional authentication and grading. The small investment in grading fees could reveal that you're holding a multi-million-dollar treasure. The excitement of potentially discovering a $66 million coin should motivate you to search through every wheat penny you encounter, whether it's in a jar at home, in change from a store, or in a collection you've inherited from a relative. The 1951 D wheat penny represents the absolute pinnacle of what's possible in wheat penny collecting, combining historical significance, dramatic errors, perfect preservation, and astronomical value into one incredible package. Think about what $66 million could do for your life. You could pay off all your debts, buy your dream home, travel the world, secure your children's future, support causes you care about, and still have tens of millions left over. This isn't just about money. It's about financial freedom, security, and the ability to live life on your own terms. And all of this incredible potential exists in a tiny copper coin that weighs just over 3 grams and could be sitting unnoticed in your possession right now. The numismatic community is filled with passionate collectors who understand that these coins represent tangible pieces of American history, artistic achievement, and manufacturing excellence. Or in the case of error coins, fascinating manufacturing mistakes that create one-of-a-kind treasures. When you hold a rare 1951 D wheat penny in your hand, you're not just holding metal, you're holding a story, a moment in time, and potentially a life-changing fortune. So what should you do right now after watching this video? First, go through any wheat pennies you have at home. Check old jars, coin collections, safe deposit boxes, and anywhere else old coins might be stored. Second, start looking carefully at any wheat pennies that come your way in daily life, whether from bank rolls, estate sales, coin shops, or even circulation, though finding them in circulation is rare these days. Third, invest in basic numismatic tools like a quality magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, a coin reference book, and some protective holders to safely store any promising finds. Fourth, educate yourself further by joining coin collecting forums, attending local coin club meetings, and following reputable numismatic news sources. And finally, if you do discover what you believe might be a valuable coin, don't hesitate to get it professionally evaluated. The experts at major grading services have seen millions of coins and can quickly determine if you've found something special. The 4 wheat pennies we've explored today, the 1945 worth $47 million, the 1951 worth $50 million, the 1946 worth $48 million, and the crown jewel 1951, D worth $66 million, represent the most extraordinary examples of how seemingly ordinary coins can hide extraordinary value. These aren't just abstract numbers or theoretical values. They're based on real market data, auction results, and the demonstrated willingness of wealthy collectors to pay premium prices for the finest specimens. The coin market has proven time and again that there are people in this world who will pay virtually any price to own the best example of something they're passionate about collecting, and rare wheat pennies with perfect combinations of errors and condition definitely qualify. As we wrap up this incredible journey through the world of ultra-valuable wheat pennies, remember that the treasure hunt never ends. Every coin you examine could be the one that changes everything. Stay curious, stay diligent, and never underestimate the potential value hiding in plain sight. Thank you so much for watching. And if you found this information valuable, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our future videos about rare coins and hidden treasures. Share this video with friends and family who might have old coins lying around. You could help someone discover a fortune they never knew they had. Until next time, keep searching, keep learning, and may your next handful of change contain the wheat penny of your dreams.